ma'am?
So far, no change has happened.
That is what when I share a window, it is not happening, ma'am. When I share the entire screen, things which I change is changing. Okay, so I will put entire screen. Then you will be able to see all the things, ma'am. So I don't know what is the logic behind it, but because when I share and then I change, it's not changing.
Let's try the entire screen, ma'am, now.
I will try one more time. Yes, ma'am. Entire screen. Let me try. Share. Okay, I am sharing the PPT.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So when I do slideshow
Yes,
and then
now we are able to see the change in the slide, ma'am.
yes, ma'am. So
It's
that's the
okay.
logic. So I have to share the entire screen. Okay, ma'am. You have your backdrop, no, ma'am. So I will not share now. The minute you ask me to share, I will share, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Shikala ma'am, you have raised a hand. So if it is by mistake, then you can change it, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Ramya ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you? I'm happy to be
Ah,
here.
I'm fine.
Yes.
Happy to see you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Congratulations for organizing this FDP, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ramya ma'am,
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
shall we wait for some 5 or 10 more minutes so that few more could join?
Okay, ma'am. I don't have any problem.
Okay, ma'am. Just 5 minutes. Let us see if we are able to get the other participants in.
Okay, ma'am. Already a good number of people are here, ma'am. Some 140 people are here. So probably in another 5 minutes we'll start
Yes,
2:35.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Because we don't want to waste the time of all those who have joined already.
Yes, that's also a issue. Okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Excuse me, principal, ma'am. Ma'am, shall we begin the meeting, ma'am?
Oh, you proceed.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ramya, ma'am, shall we begin, ma'am?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay, ma'am.
Good afternoon, one and all linked here. Education is a great leveler and is the best tool for achieving economic and social mobility, inclusion, and equality. On that note, Internal Quality Assurance Cell of V.V.Vanniaperumal College for Women, Virudhunagar, organized the national level 5-day online faculty development program on NEP 2020. On behalf of IQAC, I welcome you all here. I would like to call upon our respected Madam Dr. V. Navanithamani, Assistant Professor of English and Senior IQAC member, to welcome the gathering.
A very pleasant afternoon to all. I feel extremely glad to welcome you all to this national level 5-day online FDP on NEP 2020, organized by the Internal Quality Assurance Cell of our college. As we all know, the year 2020 has marked a major positive educational breakthrough in the form of the National Education Policy 2020. It should be accepted that a ray of hope is assured through this policy, and this indeed is the very purpose of our 5-day program. Today, we have with us an erudite expert, Professor B. Ramya, Head, Department of History, Associate Director, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Christu Jayanti College, Bangalore, who is about to enlighten us on Indian knowledge system and NEP. I'm much happy to introduce our revered resource person to you. Professor B. Ramya has worked as lecturer in Lady Doe College, Madurai, from the year 2000 to 2007. At present, she is the head and associate professor in the Department of History, Christu Jayanti College, Bangalore. She has published more than 19 articles in reputed journals, and she has co-authored 8 books. Assistant Academic Council Secretary in 2013 and IQAC Secretary in 2018. Now, she is the Associate Director of Internal Quality Assurance Cell at Christu Jayanti College, Bangalore. I take immense pride in welcoming the Honorable Resource Person, Professor B. Ramya. Welcome, ma'am. I feel extremely glad to welcome our esteemed principal, come chairman of IQAC, Dr. S.M. Meenarani, MSc, MPhil, PhD, PGDCA, who steers and gears our college towards excellency. I wholeheartedly welcome the IQAC coordinator of our college, Dr. S. Sintana, Assistant Professor, Department of English. With immense enthusiasm, I welcome all the cheerful participants from various colleges who have shown great zeal to widen their knowledge on NEP 2020. I take immense pleasure in welcoming all the faculty members of our institution who are ever enthusiastic to update themselves in par with the changing educational trends. Once again, I welcome you all to this program and assure you that this program would leave no stone unturned in the gamut of National Education Policy 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Not take much time of yours. With my immense pleasure, I would like to invite our guest of speaker, Professor B. Ramya, Head, Department of History, Associate Director, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Christu Jayanti College, Autonomous, Bangalore, to give the special address on the topic entitled Indian Knowledge System and NEP.
Good afternoon, everyone. It has been my great privilege and pleasure to be part of the session 5-day FDP organized by 3V College. I would like to confirm whether my screen sharing is working and you are able to see the screen.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I would love to thank the principal of 3V College, coordinator of IQAC, and Dr. Navanithamani ma'am, who introduced me so well. And this is really a way in which we can connect to faculty members from different parts of India and then discuss about the national education policy of India and in what way NEP 2020 proposes to change the entire higher education scenario. So with that note of thanks and gratitude to all those who have joined on time, I would like to say my thought on how NEP curriculum has been implemented. So about myself, I am currently living in Karnataka and Christu Jayanti College is one of the autonomous institutions in Karnataka affiliated to Bengaluru North University, and we have implemented NEP. So Karnataka state was the first state to implement NEP in the year 2021 academic year itself. So already 2 years of working knowledge of NEP should be my experience with regard to NEP. And these are some of the key takeaways that I have understood from NEP that I would like to share with all of you. And if there are any questions or queries, please be free to stop me, ask questions, or type in the chat box, or let the organizers know about your thoughts and feeling. So we have two aspects of today's presentation. One, a simple understanding of what NEP is about and how we are implementing NEP currently in our state, and in what way it is expected to have also influence and impact in other parts of India. Then secondly, we will also be discussing about the IKS, Indian Knowledge Systems, that are being also implemented as part of NEP. So we are all now very sure of the document that has been released and how the Union Cabinet has approved the national or the new educational policy of 2020. So we find that the Ministry of Education is determined and they have taken concrete efforts to bring transformational reforms in both school and higher educational sectors. So after 1986 educational policy, that is National Policy on Education, this was the reform that has been introduced. So the earlier educational policy had talked about access, equity, equality, quality of education. Current policy also speaks about access, equity, equality. At the same time, it speaks about affordability, accountability, and it tries to engage the emerging India towards sustainable development goals and transform India into a vibrant knowledge society. We are a nation of 1.4 billion people, and we need to have focused approach on how our education should be, so we would be able to be a major driving force in several things that are happening around us. So the NEP proposes in the transformation of higher education, and some of the key targets that are set for transforming higher education includes our increasing the gross enrollment ratio. Currently, our gross enrollment ratio varies between 28, 29, or 30 at the best of times. So by 2035, NEP 2020 proposes to increase it by minimum of 50%, so that all the eligible students or all the eligible young adults in India would be able to get higher education. And so 3.5 crore new admissions or 3.5 crore intake capability would definitely enhance in India, and that would be added to the higher education institution. And it promises to provide holistic multidisciplinary education. So the education that we will be giving shall not be narrow, will be flexible, will have creative combinations. There is no need for concrete variations in the domain areas of arts or science or commerce and management. So students shall be allowed to have creative combination of subjects of what they like. So that should be the priority of the future. And it also promises to have a single body, Higher Education Commission of India, HECI, so that there would be a lesser maneuvering between various agencies, and it is possible to reach out to better standards of education. And NEP also speaks about rationalized institutional architecture. So the higher education institutions will be transformed into a large, well-resourced, vibrant, higher quality teaching research community. So there shall be not much variations in the type of the institutions that we have. We should be having a research intensive universities or a teaching intensive university or an autonomous degree granting colleges. So these are only the three ways in which we can look into the higher education institution. So NEP talks a great level about the secondary and school curriculum as well. But for today's discussion, I am restricting only to higher education because the faculty members from higher educations are only listening today. And so that way we see that transforming higher education and transforming faculty, in particular in higher education, is currently the motive of NEP. So they describe faculty members, the qualities and abilities of faculty members. So NEP makes recommendations for motivating or energizing and building capacity of faculty with certain clear, defined, independent targets. So they talk about how incentivizing excellence is possible, and faculty is not just delivering on basic teaching learning methodology, but they will also be held accountable for what they are delivering as faculty members. And teacher education will also be synergized. A new comprehensive national curriculum framework for teacher education has already been brought out, 2021. So, in consultation with NCRT, by 2030, conditions with regard to teacher education would also be greatly transformed in India, with a 4-year integrated B.Ed degree program instead of a degree plus 1 year or 2-year B.Ed currently that is functioning today. And mentoring is another area of focus for NEP. A national mission for mentoring shall be established, and a large pool of outstanding senior faculty members, including retired faculty members and faculty members who have the ability to teach in various Indian languages, or faculty members who are willing to provide short-term mentoring or long-term mentoring, all of them shall be pooled into a national mission for mentoring. So that way, mentoring mission. So the 3 focus areas that have been drawn for transforming faculty in higher education according to NEP. So that way, I can say that there are a lot of guiding norms provided in NEP with regard to these 4 areas. One is the professional education. So all professional education will be integral part of higher education system. There is standalone technical universities or higher health science universities or legal and agricultural university. Instead of having separate standalone universities, it aims to provide professional education where all these can come together and be formed into a multidisciplinary institution. That's one thing. And second aspect would be the adult education. So India should have people who are literate, and India should also aim for 100% literacy rate, including adult literacy and youth literacy. And the center and the state shall work together to make public investments in education sector. At least 6% of GDP contribution is what is aimed at for promoting education, particularly higher education. And equal importance shall be given to open and distance learning methodology, thereby MOOC programs, or you have heard of SWAYAM and NPTEL, funding for research, digital repositories. All these are upcoming emerging areas, definitely due to the push that has been shown through implementation of NEP. So there are several areas of interest of research and importance for not just IQAC members, not just faculty members interested in education, but all those who are generally interested to be a part of this mainstream idea of providing quality education to all. So let me also tell you, when it comes to implementation, how it is being implemented with regard to my state, Karnataka, and with regard to my institution, more doubts can be clarified. So currently, we have option of providing degree programs, either 3-year or 4-year, according to the NEP guidelines. And we have multiple exit options. We also have multiple entry options. So that way, appropriate certifications will be provided at all level. So students shall be able to opt for a single major program, or a major, a minor program, or major and a vocational program. So students have the capability are options to choose from multiple ways of taking up their own degree. And then currently everybody has a knowledge about this academic bank of credit that would be established with the support of all degree awarding institutions currently. So it has already began to be implemented in the university level because they are the degree awarding level of institutions. So students would be able to get greatly benefited by having their own bank of credit, and that would be useful for them to transfer the credit from one institution to another institution. And higher education institution can also be held accountable for the various programs that they are offering in their institution. So that's one aspect I would love to say. When we are talking about the 4-year multidisciplinary undergraduate program, it is possible for a student to complete all the 4 years at a stretch, because it is currently that's what happens today. 3 years they finish and go out with a bachelor degree. If they're able to pursue the 4th year, they would be able to come out with a bachelor degree and a honors title along with it. So with a 4-year degree with the honors program, they would become eligible to enter into research program as well. So, or students who are not interested in research but they want to go to a post-graduation program, then they would be able to do 1 year of postgraduate program and earn their master degree. So 4+1 would give them the option to get a PG program, or 4-year UG degree with research and honors would be able to allow them to enter into doctoral degree program. So that way a wide variety of options are going to be coming up for the children, and they will be able to choose subject combinations across streams. So there isn't going to be any rigid rules about what are the combinations that I would be taking. So already in the state of Karnataka, they had the condition of triple major and double major program. For example, BA History, Economics, Political Science together was a triple major program. With the implementation of NEP, there wasn't much change. But when it comes to Tamil Nadu and other states of India, where we generally have a single degree program of BA History or BA Economics or BA Political Science or a BSc Mathematics, so then here the student can choose two majors where they will be able to combine a science and an art stream or a commerce stream, so that it is possible for them to specialize in multiple areas. And with particularly students who are interested in sports or cultural activity, they would be able to earn either the major credit or minor credit through the sports or music component. Then they can also take up one more component of the mainstream disciplines that we all consider. So that way there are importance is going to be about the skills. Importance is going to be about the abilities that the students are able to develop in language, in communication, in team building or critical thinking. I'm sure since we have already implemented CBCS and OBE, so we already have started to work on these lines and think on these lines of what are the graduate attributes that we are promising to our children. So that way, the focus of the NEP should be producing or creating a new generation of graduates with ability to do all these things, and it becomes the responsibility of the higher education to provide them with the skills, as well as to measure how much the skills have reached to them and what has been attained. So students shall be given options to choose courses from a basket of courses which the institution is capable of offering, because we need to understand in India, in different places in India, in different institutions, capabilities of different institutions are entirely different. So in that case, we cannot expect make a uniform system, say that institution A, B and Z should offer the same number of courses or same number of programs. So it is possible for A, B, C institution to come together and create cluster institution or cluster university, and they would be able to offer a better basket of courses. So that way, rigidity of combinations have been done away with when it comes to NEP. So to summarize what I said, From the student point of view, there are 4 alternate options that have been proposed by NEP. I'm sure if they are implementing NEP in the next academic year, then this is the area of line that you should be seriously looking at. What are the capabilities of your institution, and what are the disciplines, or what are the combinations that you will be willing to provide to the students. So whether you are going to continue with the single discipline major that you are already giving now, along with the components that has been specified by our NEP, that is with regard to languages, or with regard to ability enhancement, or skill development, or vocational courses. So let me give the list of the component in the next slide. So you can continue with option 1. So thereby you are not making a drastic change. You can continue with the single discipline major along with other options that we are talking about. Or the option 2 would be one subject becomes the major and one subject becomes the minor. So that way you can combine 2 subject areas. You have your BSc Mathematics plus an art, or a BSc Mathematics is your main major plus one minor. Student wants to do political science or music or sports. Depending on your institution, you should be able to come out with those labeling. Or 2 equally important major disciplines along with other components, or one major and vocational course, that also highly welcome. So these are the 4 alternative options that you would be currently looking at, and that way it becomes a better option. Your institution will be known for providing better number of options for the students, instead of sticking to only option 1, which is the most convenient way of introducing NEP. You can also explore ways of introducing option 2, 3 and 4. So from the student point of view, if you see, they would be able to exit in the first year of the program after completing 2 semesters with a certificate. They would be able to exit in the second year if they are able to earn 96 degrees. Exit is not easy. Please understand. NEP has not made exit very easy. Same way, re-entry is also not easy, because we have conditions that have been provided to protect the system, to protect the quality of education that we are delivering. But the options are, if I am able to earn 48 credits in my first 2 semesters and fulfill all the norms, I should be able to exit with a certificate. I should be able to exit with the diploma in the second year, or I should be able to exit with my proper degree by the end of the 3rd year, and a degree plus honors at the end of the 4th year. So this way, this is the exit option. Then the student who exit in the first year with the 48 credit should be able to re-enter immediately in another institution, or after few years, 2 years or 3 years, for the second year program or a diploma program with the 48 credits in the bank of credit. So I will have multiple exit. I can have option of multiple re-entry, so that from the student point of view, because they also come from different socio-economic backgrounds. So due to socio-economic pressure, if they are not able to continue after 1 year, why should they be penalized for their background? So after 2 years, I'm able to earn some money, or I'm able to rectify my situation, then I would be able to get a scholarship. So then I should be allowed to continue my degree program instead of rejoining in the first year or the second. So that way, this is a wonderful opportunity, so that it is possible to really reach to the unreached, and gross enrollment ratio should be able to come up because of that. Then these are the key words that have been spoken about as components of a curriculum of a 4-year degree program that NEP is talking about. So much discussion has happened on the language component. Then we have foundation courses or ability enhancement courses, and you have skill development courses or vocational courses. Then we have discipline specific core, discipline specific elective, discipline specific minor program, or generic elective courses which are open to other domain area. Then you have a project work or a dissertation or an internship by the 5th semester. Then extracurricular activities shall also be now measurable. So they are not going to be part 3 or part 4 of the curriculum. They will also have the ability to influence the number of credits that we are having. So when you this is I would like to credit the way in which it got presented. So the first year when we talk about exiting with the certificate program, so a student is well prepared about a domain area. At least they will be able to understand what the domain area is about, and they will have the ability to explore further regarding the domain area. For example, I joined English language or a Tamil language, then I should at least know what is the basic of that and how to explore on that further. So that's the objective of the first year. So in the first year, I would be having major core or minor courses relating to my core, ability enhancement, compulsory courses, and skill enhancement courses. So first year is about understanding. Second year is of having focus and immersion on what we are learning. And third year is mainly the real time learning. I get to do an internship or a research, and I will get field exposure so that I can decide that whether I want to go for research, whether I want to pursue higher education in the same field or the other field. So fourth year, where I'm going to earn my honors, I would be able to concentrate on one particular specialization area, and I would be able to further the field of study that I am coming out. So that way, there is some clarity in the way in which NEP 2020 component has been looked at. So instead of focusing on the narrations that are highly critical of the system, any system may take time to stabilize, any system may have its own weaknesses and strengths, and that is the duty of the higher education providers to work on that and then provide solutions for the problems and move ahead with what has been proposed. So that way, as part of the team that has been implementing NEP, I would like to say that there are a lot of positive comments with regard to NEP, and CBCS is now normal. It has become normal. Implementation of OBE has become normal. So when we are designing, when you are designing the implementation of NEP and its curriculum, there are certain common minimum guidelines that we are supposed to follow. Because earlier, now currently, some of us are affiliated to the university, so syllabus is prepared by the university. Some of us are autonomous colleges, so we design our own curriculum. And some of us are the university who are the driving force behind the syllabus. So, but all three of us are now come to become in the equal platform. So it becomes necessary that we all come together and have a common minimum curriculum, so that it is possible for the child, for the student to move, to migrate, to transfer the credit and become more mobile. So there are ways in which that things have been taken care. So universities are allowed to design their own syllabus for the core and the elective paper, but there is common minimum guidelines that is provided and that we need to follow. Okay, so that way it is possible. The National Higher Education Regulatory Council, NHERC, National Higher Education Regulatory Council, shall function as the common single point regulator. So they have come out with already guidelines with regard to implementation of NEP. So I would recommend that all of you familiarize yourself with what is the process. And National Higher Education Qualification Framework have also come out with the graduation attributes and the skills that are expected from each and every student that's going to come out of our institution. So the credit score earned by the student for any course shall be included in the overall score tally, irrespective of whether the course is offered by a degree awarding institute or not. So that shouldn't determine the future of our students, because without students, there is no point in being the teachers or the gurus, right? So that way, this is the my understanding of what NEP and its implementation is about. So I would be happy to take few questions either now, or I can take another 15 minutes to have discussion with regard to Indian knowledge systems, and then take up questions with regard to both NEP and Indian knowledge systems. So may I pause? Is there any immediate question that comes to your mind, and would you like to ask me anything with regard to it? If Dr. Sintana is there, if you are tracking the chat
Ma'am?
box. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Let
any
me,
question is there, or if you ask me to continue, I can continue. If there's any
you can
particular,
just continue, ma'am. If at all we have any questions, let us look
yes,
at in the end, at the end, ma'am.
yes, ma'am. So
So far,
that's
we
what
don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chindana. So the another aspect that I wanted to talk about with regard to NEP, because this FDP faculty development program's main motive itself to speak about different aspects of implementation of NEP. I had the privilege to also tell you my understanding of what NEP is and how we have implemented NEP in the last 2 years. So another beautiful aspect for implementation of NEP guidelines would be to go back to our traditional knowledge practices, our traditional systems. And NEP also has provided certain recommendations with regard to Indian knowledge systems. I'm sure there's nobody here who will not agree with me or who will disagree with me if I say that India is known for its heritage. India has rich traditional knowledge. India already has multidisciplinary approach towards teaching and learning, and Indian education has always kept the learners as the priority, and there's unlimited scope for learning, right? So as we keep learning, we realize we have not learned anything. I know just a bit in the ocean kind. So that kind of knowledge is available in Indian systems. So, our education can definitely focus on different facets of understanding, different ways of approach towards education and knowledge. And of course, India is also known for ancient practices. India was known for higher education institutions, including Nalanda or Takshashila, right? So I'm sure we have also heard about the vast knowledge and expertise that can be seen in Vedic sciences or singing or painting or chemistry or maths. So we have multiple domain areas of expertise. And probably during the colonial age, right, we were more motivated to introduce Western curriculum and Western way of thinking, Western way of understanding. And the only way it got rationalized was that Indian knowledge systems are primarily on the basis of religion, and the Western knowledge systems are primarily based on a rational thinking. So that's how, as a student, we have learned history or we have seen education. But currently there are a lot of awareness that are coming up about what is the meaning of traditional knowledge practices, right? So we need to look into that traditional knowledge practices. So let me begin this 15 minutes of my observation by presenting to you certain terminologies with regard to traditional knowledge systems. So everybody, no one has any problem with United Nations organization. So UNOS talks about the definition of what traditional knowledge means. They talk about it as a local knowledge system, and they call local knowledge or traditional knowledge as the record of human achievement, because how did we survive? We have been surviving with our local knowledge practices. We have answered a lot of problems, complexities of life. We have survived in unfriendly environment. We have a repository of traditional knowledge, which can be technical knowledge, it can be social knowledge, it can be organizational knowledge or cultural knowledge. So this entire traditional knowledge system is about my historic experiment of survival and development. I, being a history department faculty member, I liked this way of approaching this understanding of traditional knowledge, because there should be credit provided to what we already have done. It is not necessary I have to repeat the experiment to understand that putting my hand in the fire is going to burn my finger. I need not have to do it because already someone has done it, they've already recorded it, and already it is proven fact, right? So that way, we have traditional knowledge repositories that we need to appreciate, and that would enable opening up of people's mind to look at other ways, to look at instead of simply blindly following what we are supposed to follow, right? Look at things, question things, and then you can develop or reframe how we are contributing towards knowledge, or how we are contributing towards science, or how we are talking about philosophy. Anyway, you just look at what you already have so that you can progress and you can formulate a way of thinking globally about traditions, right? So Indian knowledge systems mainly is going to focus about Indian knowledge, Indian tradition. So it can be about any field of knowledge, right? So NEP, so I'm quoting directly from NEP manual, where they talk about traditional knowledge of India. So they are focusing on, there are many aspects of traditional knowledge, and this traditional knowledge of India will, NEP will look at traditional knowledge of India which are sustainable and which are striving for welfare of all, because there should be a limitation what I should choose. So if there are traditional knowledge practices which are sustainable, and if there are traditional knowledge practices that are aiming for welfare of all, then it becomes the responsibility of education provider to find that knowledge and disseminate that knowledge. So instilling knowledge of India, whether to fulfill our social needs or cultural needs or technological needs or artistic needs or ethics, that becomes the responsibility of higher education providers also. It is not just the value based curriculum that we talk only at the lower level. So we always have that feeling that at the school curriculum they will take care of the character building, and in the higher education they will take care of only development of ideas and innovations and creativity. So we'll only deal with higher level of thinking, we don't do the knowledge based management, right? So that way NEP says that it is the responsibility of each and every one of us to look at what is the real knowledge that you can study from your own place, from your own ethics, from your own literature. So that's one thing that I want to quote directly. Then secondly, we also have to understand what do they mean by Indian knowledge system, because I'm not here to teach you what is the wealth of Indian knowledge system. That's not possible for anybody. A mathematician can say it in a way, a philosopher can say it in a way, a Sanskrit teacher will say it in a way. So I just want to look at it from the point of view of a higher education provider, right? So here, how are they defining Indian, how are they defining knowledge, and how are they defining the systems? So when it comes to India, we are not talking about the India that is currently there after independence. We have clearly earmarked map of India, right? And we have conflict zones. We are not talking about that. So here the Indian source of knowledge refers to the body of knowledge that India had in the subcontinent. The Akhanda Bharat concept comes there. So whether it is about Sri Lanka, whether it is about Bangladesh, or whether it is about Sindh area, Pakistan or Afghanistan, if there is a repository of knowledge available in any of our territories in subcontinent, then Indian knowledge system can document and appreciate and learn from that system. So that is India. And which India? Ancient India, medieval India, modern India, contemporary India, all of the above. There's no restrictions on the chronological time frame of learning about India from India, right? Then that is India. So that is what I mean when we are saying about the word Indian knowledge system. So it's not about geographical terms, it's not about the territorial terms, it is about not about the time frame also. It is about the wealth of knowledge that India had and how much access do I have to get to the primary source of that knowledge. Then when it comes to the word knowledge itself, so knowledge itself can be of different ways of approaching the term knowledge. Some knowledge is written, some knowledge, that means from literature I will be able to take the knowledge. So that means I need to be strong in my languages. So if I know many languages, many Indian languages, then it becomes possible for me to get access to the wealth of knowledge that is found in multiple languages of India, documented literary language knowledge sources. But please also remember, we also have oral knowledge. We also have unwritten traditional practices, which has been passed from one generation to another generation. So the wealth of knowledge that is available in undocumented information from my own ancestors, from my own grandmother. So there are a lot of knowledge that we can also record. So currently it becomes the responsibility of the people alive today, at least people who are in the education sector, to record the oral knowledge traditions as well. Everything that you hear, everything that you document may not be 100% truth. Nobody is asking you to label it as 100% truth, but it becomes the duty to at least record it, and then further research can be carried out on the oral knowledge or traditional knowledge practices that are there. Then when it comes to the term systems, so Indian knowledge system or Indian knowledge practice. So these are the two words that also a lot of debate had happened. So when we talked about systems are always organized, comprehensible approach towards knowledge. So it is structured. When it comes to practice, there is not a framework. So AICTE and NEP have preferred to use the word systems because it is possible to organize it in a manner, not just record the practices, not in a framework. So that's the understanding of the terms. So when we know the understanding by ourselves, instead of going by somebody's interpretation, then it's easy to approach the wealth of knowledge that we are having. So what is the importance of understanding Indian knowledge system, right? So these are the 4 words that keep revolving, and it depends on how you look at these 4 words, right? Indian knowledge system can help in creating an identity for an Indian, identity for India, and the relationship between India and the Indian, or Indian in India, right? So if I know what India stands for, why does India always have spoken about non-violence? Why there is tradition of non-violence in India? Because in any ways, in many literature or many oral traditions, repeatedly talk about non-violence and peace and not to harm fellow beings, not just beings which are organic, right? So we have that sense. So that gives me the sense of connection between India and Indian identity, instead of developing fantasy identity with Korean culture, right? So currently I see around me children developing fantastic orientation with regard to Korea, but that is imagination of them. In their own mind they have developed their identity, but it is possible with real knowledge. I would be able to connect with my nation, my heritage, and strengthen the feeling of identity. Then culture is what we as a group have decided to make it. So it is the culture that is the whole embodiment of prevailing knowledge systems or literary traditions. That is what we mean as culture. Then received wisdom. So wisdom got transferred. We have a repository of great wisdom, ancient knowledge that got transferred from generation to generation. So by learning that, I would be able to create new idea and innovate. Then value. Primarily, economic value is also there by understanding Indian knowledge system. No, I'm not talking about the value system, ethics. Here, the value I mean simple monetary value, right? So you might have heard about how India had to greatly fight to even obtain patenting for our scientific knowledge, right? So when we have lost the dispute with regard to neem, but we were able to win international patent fights with regard to turmeric or with regard to basmati or with regard to rice or paddy. So you find that, and knowing the wealth of your own traditions, of the science that is there, you would be able to present more innovative thinking, innovative approach of solving the problems. Do we really know the wisdom of the ancient past with regard to water conservation methods? Do we know about the understanding people had regarding rainwater harvesting? What is the wealth of knowledge that is available? So have you documented, have you used it? So that way, by understanding the current knowledge, we would be able to even get global intellectual recognitions, including IP rights. So that way, patent laws can also be taken advantage by India for its own wealth of knowledge. So that way, IKS can be approached for multiple reasons. So after NEP suggestions in 2020, what happened next? The Ministry of Education established an Indian Knowledge System division in AICTE, right? So again, let me tell you, there are two approaches, one with the secondary curriculum, other with the higher education. I am primarily talking only about higher education. I am not touched anything with regard to school bodies, right? So Ministry of Education is what provides guidelines to higher education provider, and the division in AICT has been created in 2020, and they have a very clear cut vision that how they will promote interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary research in all aspects of Indian knowledge system, because it's not possible to say this philosophical idea is mathematical idea, or this philosophical idea is about physics, or this philosophical idea is about medicine, because majority of the ideas that we had in the past were all transdisciplinary ideas, right? So we know about Panini, and we always connect Panini with grammar, but you should listen to mathematics professors of the world who appreciate Panini and then say that his work is not grammar, it is maths, pure maths. So that way, we have to understand that IKS should be transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary. Then you need to take efforts to preserve or disseminate IKS knowledge for utility value. Without utility, knowledge will be lost, right? So we had multiple languages, and people will give you exact statistics how UNESCO has said 195 languages are threatened or 110 languages already lost. So that way, without usefulness of that language, then the language will be lost. So IKS knowledge need to also have certain utility value. What value? Whether it is for research, or whether it is for patenting, or whether it is as a social application. So you need to work on that. Automatically it will not come up. And then they've also come out with national curriculum framework, and they've also listed 25 areas, right? And then they have said these are the areas which higher education institutions can also look at. So they have also constituted an expert panel to provide guidelines for the teacher training institutes, and every UG and PG program, it has been made mandatory that we also offer an IKS component. So that way, students can be encouraged to study and record ancient knowledge that was available in India. So the focus is to find sets of knowledge claims in ancient texts, accepting them across domain, and integrating them with the current curriculum. So there is a past, present, and future focus on the IKS that has been clearly said. Even by the recent information, if you have heard, Minister of State of Education, Annapurna Devi, recently, like 3 days back, she was talking about the importance of IKS and how implementation areas have been identified in India. So IKS division has already been established. Around 13 centers have been identified in India, and they have been chosen to work on the research, education, and outreach activities. So this IKS centers are not just going to be there only for 2022. So for the next year, 2023, proposals are being invited from different parts of India to approach the agency with their concrete proposal, so that your institution can also become Indian Knowledge System Center. So that's one of the areas that we can look at, right? So these are the focus. You need not have to say that I don't have history or I don't know Sanskrit. No, it's not about one focus area. It's not just about Vedic studies. It can be music, or it can be drama, it can be vernacular literature, it can be law or governance, epistemology, anything. So these are the main focus areas that have been identified, and they have identified few centers as well, and the proposals are invited for further recommendations as well, right? So what do I want to tell to the people who have come here? So what are the ways in which we can implement IK? So I'll take 2 more minutes. So first of all, we need to have clarity of knowledge of India, that it is not just the Vedic India, right? So from ancient India to modern India, to have a clear sense of what India stands for, right? So with regard to education, because we are in education, with regard to health, because everybody needs to focus on the aspects of health, and everybody needs to focus on the aspects of environment. So education, health, and environment are the three areas that every institution, higher education provider can easily look at, right? Then colleges can offer some courses with regard to these three areas, right? So if you are known for, if you are in Kanchipuram, then Kanchi was always known as a great, wonderful educational center in ancient India. We have Chinese travelers, we have Southeast Asians, we have Ceylonese. People have talked about Kanchi as center of education. But do you know? Do your children know? Do you offer any certificate courses about your own place and its contribution to the field of education? Your own place and its contribution to the field of traditional medicines or medicinal practices, about a root, about a flower, about a leaf. So there are a lot of wealth of knowledge that you can bring out. So that can be one of the key areas that your administrative team can also look at, offering specific courses in the field of IKS, right? It can be about farming, or it can be about water management. Options are endless. That's one implementation area. Then another one, you don't want to take it too seriously. Then this is another area which I would love every child knows this. At least Indian government has come out with Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat scheme. We also can find by ourselves, but this is a good guideline. They've identified 100 top destinations in India for known for its heritage, right? So they even send a circular to all higher education asking us to organize field trips or excursions or experiential learning to these places. So you can do that, get the list, and then you can motivate your children not just to go as a tourist, but visit the place with a purpose, to study the history of the place if they are from that interest area, or science of the place, or traditional practices of the place, or literature of the place, or anything. So that way you are augmenting, you're adding to the knowledge that is already available at this place. So that can be one of the ways in which you can concretely contribute towards IKS, and your institution could be the next institution that may get an award for promoting the idea of IKS, right? So that's one thing I can tell you. Then museums and art galleries, whether they are virtual museum or e-museum or gallery, right? Every education institution can also be part of this Indian knowledge systems by establishing a small center of museum where the local artifacts, the local wealth of knowledge can be put up in a display with correct information, proper information, cited information with the sources. So you are contributing to the pool of knowledge that we are gathering as IKS. That's one way we can easily contribute. And then having courses which will enable museology course, for example. So you are providing quality workforce to work in the available museum or art gallery or heritage site. So that can also be an approach that you can take if it is possible for your institution to do so. So the IKS division of Ministry of Education has come out with certain concrete plans. That is what I started with. And I also said what is their main agenda or their main functions. I'm sure if you just visit their website, you will get all this information. I want to stop here by saying about the proposals. Currently, they have announced 4 initiatives only up to 22-23 year, right? So one was the outcome-based research proposal program. The one was the IKS Center Proposal Program. The third one was the IKS internship program. Then they went with second round of IKS center proposal program. So these are the four programs that they have announced so far. So it should be interesting for some of you to look at these proposals. What do they mean as outcome-based research proposal? They have invited up to 40 new research proposals so that children can be engaged to do research to understand about traditional knowledge practices. And a fund of 10 lakh rupee was provided per research project for 2 years of time. So we can be the next institution to get benefit. The second one was the internship program. So we needed faculty to apply for this internship program, and they can have as many as 20-25 interns as to provide opportunity for your students to contribute in the active research area during their summer vacation or during their break time. So they can go around and collect information. Bharatiya Nyan Samvahini. So BG Samhalni 2 is a currently running proposal. So that way they can gather material and they can contribute for extending the knowledge of pool of IKS. So there are a lot of sources available on IKS information as well. So I would encourage you to kindly look at this material, and these are the support system that has already been brought out by the government of India with regarding to implementation of NEP as well as with regarding to introduction of or implementation of IKS, because there is some level of truth that we need to acknowledge, that we have forgotten to know about our own country, our own place, our own local area, our own people. So it's best that we know about us first before talking about any other nation in the world. So with that note, I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you for providing me the opportunity to speak as well as listening to me, and then you have your own comments to make, kindly do so. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And there is one question in the chat box.
Yes, ma'am.
Parimala madam from Lady Doak College had raised this query. And with reference to your first part of your lecture, she wants to find out if there is any difference between the existing system in our colleges with the first alternative that you had given, the single window system.
I'm happy to know that the question has come from Parimala ma'am, and ma'am, I think ma'am knows me too. So she said that I have worked in Lady Doak. Yes, I'm a proud alumni of Lady Doak College, Madurai, and I feel by being part of the NEP practice now, the first option that we are all talking about, where we can have a 3-year degree program and extended to 4th year with the honors option. Basically, it is the same, ma'am. There are many parts of India where they have not successfully implemented CBCS or OBE. For institutions that have already implemented OBE, the CBCS structure with multiple interdisciplinary option or multidisciplinary options and ability enhancement component, skill enhancement component, it's going to be easy navigation from this system to the next system. The only condition being, we have to look into the guidelines that have been provided by National Higher Education Body regarding the core subject area that we have to provide. If it is for maths or if it is for language or Tamil. So that guidelines we need to look at. Otherwise, a simple curriculum body can work on it, and we should be able to implement our option 1 easily. But exit options we need to work at, and we should work at different ways of addressing the courses that we are having currently.
Thank you, ma'am. If there are any more queries, the participants shall present their question by themselves.
I think there's one comment from Jyoti ma'am, which says that is all cities of India ready to accept this big leap towards NEP policy. whenever any new change happens, no ma'am, we have always have different ways of navigating that new solutions, right? So for example, when cbcs was presented or when outcome based education was talked about, we also had hurdles with regard to that. But when it comes to implementation of NEP, there's no other choice. We are implementing NEP. When are we implementing NEP, and how we are going to plan with regard to implementation of NEP is what we need to look at, and it is possible because we need to have a think tank of information. We need to have group of people working at the state level. We have people working at the university level and in your own institution who will help you and guide you for the implementation of NEP.
If there are no more questions, shall we wind up, ma'am?
Thank you, ma'am, for having enlightened us through your speech with deep insights on our Indian knowledge system, including traditional knowledge system and NEP. I would like to call upon our beloved Madam, Dr. E. Cynthia Judith Gnanaselvi, Assistant Professor of Computer Application and IQAC member, to thank the gathering.
I feel much elated to propose vote of thanks for this special occasion. First of all, I thank God Almighty for His blessings to conduct this FDP. I express my sincere gratitude to all the managing board members of our college for permitting us to organize this national level 5-day online faculty development program on NEP 2020. I am profoundly grateful to our dynamic principal, ma'am, Dr. S.M. Meena Rani, who is the guiding star of all of our IQAC activities. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our resource person, Professor B. Ramya, Associate Director of IQAC, Kristu Jayanti College, Bangalore, for her delightful presence and informative speech about Indian knowledge system and NEP. Ma'am, you have given us a crystal picture of the key recommendations in NEP 2020 and Indian educational scenario. Thank you, ma'am. I express my sense of gratitude to our college IQAC coordinator, Dr. S. Sintana, ma'am, who is the backbone of our IQAC. I am very much pleased to thank our IQAC members and support staff. I extend my generous thanks to the participants from other colleges who have shown involvement throughout this session. I am very thankful to all the faculty members of our college for their active participation in our program. Once again, thank you one and all. Thank you.
Thank you from my end also. Thanks to principal and IQAC coordinator for inviting me as well as for organizing such an FDP, because the more we listen, more we will be able to shape our own minds instead of navigating through any other interpretations found or given by others. So thank you all for patiently listening to me.
Thank
Okay,
you, ma'am.
thank you, Ramya ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. An important note to the participants: feedback link is shared in the chat box. Participants are requested to fill and submit the feedback form immediately. And the participants requested to submit the feedback form immediately. Let us all meet virtually through the same link tomorrow, sharply at 2:15 p.m. I repeat, let us all meet virtually through the same link tomorrow, sharply at 2:15 p.m. Thank you.
I've also shared my email ID just in case you would like to have any kind of discussion or any queries or you have a suggestion. You're most welcome. Please contact us. Thank you.
Sure, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.